Welcome, everybody, to the Jump Music Initiative podcast. We have with us today Amy Bishop here, and we're super excited to have her and chat with her. Amy is a Calgary-based singer-songwriter, and in the last few years, she's really gained some notoriety from her time starring on CTV's The Launch. She has collaborated with such artists as Moby and Nikki Sixx of Motley Crue fame. So she has a lot to talk about and really, really cool perspective on things. Welcome, Amy. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Let me start off things, if you don't mind. Can you give us a little bit of background on where your career started and maybe how you got into gigging at all?
My career started at karaoke. I mean, I was a church choir kid. Like, my dad was the church choir director, so I guess that might be where it began. But actually, where I started making money was winning karaoke contests. And that's kind of, I would go out and find a karaoke contest, and I had two songs that always were well received, and I would win many times. It paid my rent several months of my early years in my 19, 20-year-old self.
Wow.
And then I joined a band. We were called Mississippi Steamboat, and I fell in love with the flexibility of being, having instruments and everything else live. When you're playing with tracks, you are stuck to those tracks. You're playing these songs. It's this many bars long. Here's the solo. There's no room for, oh my gosh, you're doing such a great solo. Let's keep going. And so at that point I thought, well, I should probably learn how to play an instrument then, because at that point I only sang. And so I decided I would learn how to play the guitar so that if the band ever died, I wouldn't have to go back to doing karaoke.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. So you just picked up the guitar. How old were you when you picked up the guitar?
I want to say 26 or so.
Oh, I see.
I think it would have been maybe in 1999 or 2000. So it's about 20 years ago.
I see.
And,
wow.
When I was a kid, I had my father taught me a couple chords like D and A, and I think G. I think I knew three chords. And so I wrote a lot of, but I wasn't good. It was just a matter of, I never really stuck to it. But when I realized that if I would be left to tracks, if I didn't have people to play with,
mm-hmm.
I was like, nah, I was like a dog with a bone. I had to learn how to play.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. While we're on the subject, what were the two karaoke songs?
One of them was I Could Have Danced All Night from My Fair Lady. And the other one was Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf. And I did them both in opera voice. And I had a costume. My mother and I made a costume out of tinfoil and chicken wire, like a breastplate and the helmet with the horns. And I would dance around this and just, I would have danced. It was not good, but it got a reaction. And people were like, well, you only win because you have a gimmick. Well, you're singing a Garth Brooks song and you have a cowboy hat. So I think we're in the same. We both have gimmicks. Mine just makes people laugh. Like, nobody's going to forget that woman running around the stage screaming, born to be wild. And so that's it. I didn't win because I was better than everybody. I won because I was over the top.
Well, I know humor has always been, sorry to jump in, Maddie. It just occurred to me.
Worries,
you were going to say something. But I think, has humor always been a part of your music and how you connect with audiences? Because not a lot of it is planned, but, I've had the pleasure of playing with you a number of times, and I find it to be a really unique aspect to your show. Is this something that's intentional, really, or just kind of your personality shining through?
I think it started as a defense mechanism when I was a kid, just I didn't feel like I fit in, so I would be the joker, and that kind of got me in with different groups of people. And when I'm on stage, I don't generally know what I'm going to say next. Sometimes things really go over well, and then I'll repeat them the next time or the next time or the next time. But yeah, it's just kind of who I am. And some of my favorite concerts that I've been to have been people who who can make me laugh between songs, especially if you sing something that just breaks your heart and then you come back with something hilarious. It just sort of breaks that tension in that moment, and you can move on without going, okay, well, now we're going to sing a song about bacon, and I know you're crying, like you can just sort of bring it in with humor. And that's just, it comes naturally to me, to be humorous. It makes me feel comfortable.
I can see that. It's so effective in your show, and you do it so well.
Thank you. Thanks.
So something I really wanted to ask you is, we've had people talk from the perspective of being a side musician on this show before. And then I was thinking that maybe you could give us a little bit of insight on the opposite perspective, right? Being an artist who may hire side people, and what that looks like and what that process is like for you.
You know what? I have a group of people that I enjoy playing with. As a I guess the lead artist or the solo artist. It's wonderful for me that I can play an instrument, because if I can get a lot of shows, because people don't necessarily want to pay a lot for music. So if you can get me solo, that's great. Because it costs less. So, that's wonderful. But as far as hiring side musicians, I'm always blown away when I ask somebody to play with me and they say yes. The people that I play with, I just think are exemplary musicians. Jory's played with me. I'm always blown away by the people who agree to come and play with me, because I always feel like I'm just sort of playing at life. Pretty soon people are going to figure out that I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I'm always very excited when a side musician will come in. And when I first began, I would work with anybody who would work with me. And sometimes it was great and sometimes not so much, especially when you're touring. You might go to a place and they say, well, we have a house band and they're incredible, so send them your charts. And you get there and it's not good. And other times it's excellent. So I'm learning to become a little more discerning when it comes to who I hire, simply because I want to have the same quality of product, whether I'm by myself or in a duo or a trio or have a 5-piece. I want it to be excellent. And so, and I think as a lead person, it's great to have a team of people. So I've got my core, but not everybody can make it all the time. And so I've got these other people who are happy to step in. When I need a bassist, I know Jory will come if he's available. And so it's wonderful to have a band, but it's really a team, because today on bass, we're having Jory instead of Lisa, or today, instead of having Aaron on guitar, we're going to have John on piano. And so it's really cool, because it kind of gives more variety to the music. One thing I absolutely love about playing with side people is the collaboration. The music sounds different when Jory plays than when Lisa plays. And I love it. Because it brings new energy to the music. And so something the way I sing the song might change in any given moment, because, oh my, John just played this amazing chord and now I'm feeling sentimental, as opposed to, I don't want to shout the words. I want to whisper them. And I've got so many wonderful people on my team that if I hunch my back a little bit, everybody knows, oh, she's quieting down. It's never been discussed. It just happens. Oh, she's about to whisper. It's time to, it's wonderful to have this group of people that I work with. Okay. Juno, she always needs attention when I'm on the video.
I see. Hi, Juno.
Yes, this is Juno. And I'd like to thank the Academy for my
Amy, on the while we're on the topic of side musicians, I really appreciate the fact that you have really wonderful charts that your songs are charted and they're easy to follow, and they have the lyrics on them and everything, and it makes a world of difference. Who does your charts? How do you do that?
I make my own charts. And usually they're a work in progress, because the songs change over time and I might have messed something up. And but generally I use Sibelius, and a lot of my charts, sometimes they're notated. Most of the time it's just little ticks for each beat. I just want them to be readable by anybody. So, excuse me.
And they certainly are, and it makes it so much easier. Is that the same program you use when you have an iPad there as well, and you have your foot switch?
No, that's the program I use for that is called OnSong. And so I take my PDFs of the charts I've made, I plop them into OnSong, and I love that with the little foot switch, because I mean, generally I don't need to read my own music, but sometimes I do, you know, especially if it's a new song. I tend to write a song on Tuesday and say, okay, band, here's a new song. And it goes a little like this. And so it's nice to have that foot switch there too.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, right.
And it's wonderful now with the way technology's gone, because I mean, I remember I used to print binders for my band, and just, you know, they might know the song, but I take their binders home, and then, I'm going to change things around. So I take all the music out, put it all in the right order, put it back in. This is just so much nicer. I send out an email a couple days before the show. Here's the order of songs. You might want to have a look at this one because it's new. And it's great. If there's rehearsal, that's even better. But if there isn't, that's another thing about the great musicians I work with, is that they know me well enough that if I start a song, they'll join in, and it's wonderful. Often an audience won't know they've never heard the song before.
As an artist, how can you prepare your side how can you prepare your side musicians to do the best job that they can do? What sort of things do you need to be aware of? What sort of advice can you give an artist that is going to work with sidemen, and how to approach that?
I think when you're starting out, it's really important to rehearse. And if you have it in your budget, pay your sidemen to come to those rehearsals. People take things like, it's time, right? We need to respect the time of the musician. So if you can pay it, or say, you know what, I'm going to pay a little extra the night of the gig because of this, you know, that's important. If you can, if it's in your budget, because if you've got a band and your band is called Mississippi Steamboat, like my band was, then we all get together and we all have a stake in it. It's our project. But as a solo artist, this is my project. And so I need to respect the people who I hire, and make sure that clear charts are important, because you don't want anybody having to make any guesses. And if it means that at rehearsal we find some mistakes in the charts, great. You can make those changes on your charts. I can then take those changes and bring them to the computer and fix them and resend those charts out. But yeah, a rehearsal is key. And I think letting your side bandmates be a part of the process of creating a sound. If you don't like the sound, you can change it. You can say, I didn't really like that. It's a little too country for me. But let people put their own stamp on your music, because when people are invested that way, they feel like they're part of the creative process of it. They're not just there playing the notes. They're actually take some ownership of what they're putting into the music.
That's awesome. And I wanted to ask, when you were first starting out, how did you find the best way to network and meet other people to play with?
I found going to open mics was really good. You go to an open mic, you play a song or two, and you talk to people, you know, listen to somebody play and go, you know what, I really love the way you write. Would you like to write together? And you create a group of people that you like, that are like-minded, and you can benefit from knowing one another, you know. I think that's the best way, is to go to open mics, go to songwriting groups. Even online, there are different groups online where you can meet different people. But I find that going out, participating in the community is good.
Speaking of collaborations, what does your songwriting process look like? You know, are you lyrics first, music first, both? What's it like when you write with other people? How do you do that?
Usually I get inspired when I'm distracted. And so I keep my phone nearby. I do voice memos all the time. How about something like this with this kind of twist, blah, 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 blah. And often it'll stay in my phone for years before I even do anything with it. generally for me, I'll be sitting with my guitar practicing something else, like, okay, this is what we're going to sing on Friday, so I'll practice it, and then I'll just start playing, and that'll sound like something to me. It'll bring a feeling out in me, and I'll search to try and identify what that feeling is, and then I'll start writing. If a song is hard for me to write, I'll generally bring in a co-writer. I wrote a song called Perfect and Broken, and the first line is, I'm bad at being in love and I'm bad at being alone. I'm lost when I find myself without somebody's arms to call home. And I was in a relationship with my partner, and thought, well, if I write this, she's going to think it's about her. And how do I write it? I found it really difficult to write it. So I actually sat with Lisa, and she and I had a long conversation. It felt like a therapy session. And we just sort of kind of got through. She's like, well, why do you have to write a song and sing it in public? Just write the song and let it be written. And so we started writing the song, thinking nobody's ever going to hear the song. And it was just writing it out for therapy. And it's probably one of the best songs I've ever written. In my, for me, it's so full of truth that it hurts. And that to me, it was a great way to write a song. But I don't have sometimes I'll be in my car and I'm like, oh, I love this idea. And I'll start singing something, and there'll be words, or I'll have a piece of poetry in my mind, and it'll be words. And sometimes it's music. And then sometimes it all comes at once. I love collaboration though, because, a song, you can get more out of a song when there's more than one heart in it. So, yeah, there's not. Yeah, I wish there was a concrete way of me saying, well, it's this. I write the verses and then I write the chorus. I don't. The song that I wrote with the help of Nikki Sixx, I sat in the garage and I just pounded away on my electric guitar because I was angry. I wanted it to be an angry song. And then we kind of went back and forth over the course of a few weeks. I sent him the song. He sent me some ideas back. I sent him I sent it back to him, and we went back and forth for a little bit. And then the song was almost all written when I sent it to him. And then what he changed in the song was so epic. Like, it was, I tend to stick to the same chords when I write a song, except for when I go to the bridge. So chorus and verse generally are in the same chords, and often are even in the same order. I only changed the melody of the vocal. And so he changed it from going from, I guess it would be an E minor to a G. He's like, go from the E minor to an E flat minor. And it was like it was this killer transition that I would never, ever have thought of on my own. And so collaboration, I think, is wonderful. I'll finish a song, every single lyric, and if somebody wants to weigh in on it, I'll be very happy to at least hear what they have to say, unless I'm completely satisfied with the song, because going to that E flat minor changed that song. The impact was incredible, and I never would have thought to do it.
For those that are listening, that are on the younger side, that might not know who Nikki Sixx is. Nikki Sixx is the songwriter and bass player, and basically the heart behind a band called Motley Crue. That was one of the biggest bands in the world. So if you don't know Motley Crue, go check them out. And Nikki Sixx is a bass player that Amy is talking about, that she worked with on her time on CTV's The Launch. Which, would you mind us asking you about that a little bit? I was wondering about your experience there. What did you learn from that experience, and what was it like? Because it must have been something that something obviously you've never done before.
I'd never done something on that scale before. And honestly, when I went to do it, I didn't think it was going to be as big as it was. I thought, well, CTV The Launch, it's probably like, I don't know, the breakfast show, like in the local breakfast show,
Right.
not, I just wasn't, I tend to not ever see the huge picture until I'm standing in the middle of it. And then I'm like, ooh, well, isn't that neat? So I went, and, it was incredible. I felt very respected as a musician, as an artist, as a singer. I felt heard, but what I got from it mostly was a mental equivalent of what life could be like. if I continue on the path I'm on. And I don't know if I'll ever experience that sort of, I had a handler and I had my dressing room, and, they brought me my lunch, and it was, kind of lovely. And I don't know if that will ever be my reality, but it was really neat to know what that feels like. Mm-hmm. Because when you know what something feels like, you can create that feeling in whatever you're experiencing in the moment. So I could be singing on CTV's The Launch in front of 2 million people and have this feeling of like, whoa, I'm so excited, and what, so much hope, and these huge dreams popping in my mind. And then I can go and sing in front of 30 people and bring that feeling back. And so that every experience can still be exciting and new. And, I have the idea that the more grateful you are with where you are, the more you receive to get grateful for. And so that's kind of where I am with that. Like, the mental equivalent gives me the opportunity to reach for those same feelings, maybe when something isn't as exciting or as glamorous as that. I can still feel that way. I can still be very grateful and full of hope and full of dreams, because I think, one, I deserve to have that feeling, but also the people who I sing for deserve for me to share that feeling with them. And I think that's why the following that I have follows me, because they can feel the gratitude in being able to share with, whether it's 30 people or I sang in front of 17,000 people, and that was really exciting too. So, just to know that whenever I am sharing, I'm giving all that I can, and bringing that feeling into who I am and into every performance. I think I'm doing myself a service and doing a service to others as well by sharing it.
On that same note, sorry, Jory.
No, Maddie, you go.
So do you find, like, obviously you play a lot of different types of shows and you have played with a lot of different people, but there's obviously a difference between playing to 30 people or playing to 2 million people, and to be able to put on the same show and give the audience the same energy, how do you deal with nerves playing on stage to that many people?
Well, I had nerves when I was on The Launch, because that level of amount of people, that's something that was unknown to me. And but usually for me, nerves go away after the first 2 bars of singing, because I just go within and know that, like when I sang Hallelujah, which was the first song I did for my audition on that show, the first couple the first couple bars of me singing, I was jittery. And then I was like, you got to let this go, because you just breathe and let it go. These are 3 people sitting in front of me. They're 3. There's cameras, but there's 3 people, and they need to see what I can offer. And so I do a lot of a lot of dialogue with myself, just breathe, know that this is just 3 people, know that you are more than enough to fill this room, with your voice and with your spirit and with your energy. And but when it comes to singing with in front of any crowd, I don't tend to get nervous anymore. There's this little energy that comes up, but I feel that's more of an excitement than nervous. And I've heard a bazillion times that it's the same feeling. When you're nervous or when you're excited, it's the same. It's what you label it. And so with the power of your mind, you can label it with excitement rather than nerves, and make it into something positive, as opposed to something that's, unknown. Mm-hmm. So
that's a wonderful perspective. I like how you framed that. That's very cool. What might be something, maybe you had no negative experiences on your time with The Launch and that sort of exposure, but are there some aspects to that you didn't expect, or that you found out that you didn't like?
Well, the most negative thing I experienced on The Launch was that I didn't win. And because nobody goes into any sort of competition or race or to say, whoa, I'm second. I didn't win and I didn't like it. But I also look at that and there's a lot of freedom in not winning. Had I won, I would have been tied to certain contracts. Had I won, I may or may not write a song, and that song may or may not ever be released. As an independent artist, I can continue my career where I'm in control. But now I've got an extra 2 million people who've seen me. I've got people on the West Coast, on the East Coast. I have people who send me emails from Africa because they played the show there. So, my reach has really grown, and so that's really where the major benefit has been. As far as any negatives, if there were negatives, I don't remember them. I don't tend to hang on. I try not to hang on to that kind of stuff. I'm trying to think. The only thing I didn't really like was Nikki Sixx asking me to smash a guitar. He's like, you're usually behind your guitar. I think what you should do is start the song holding on to your guitar and then just smash it. And I'm like, and he said, well, not this guitar, not your Gibson. We'll get you a real cheapo guitar. And I said, I can't do that. Uh-huh. And he was very surprised. I said, no. He said, well, why? And I said, because there are thousands and thousands of people in the world who can't even afford a $50 guitar. Mm-hmm. And if I smash one, I'm stealing their songs. Mm-hmm. Like somebody could take this $50 guitar. I said, if you'd like, I can toss the guitar into somebody to catch it. No, that's okay. Okay. And also doing that would have just been disingenuous. It's not something I would do. Amy Bishop, would not ever smash a guitar. Even if it had already been smashed, I guess destroying something is not something I want to be seen doing.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Good point. Shifting gears for a little bit. It's Pride Week. Happy Pride Week.
Thank you.
I was wondering if you could speak a little bit as to what it's like, maybe to be a minority artist, and what can young artists do to maybe come to peace with themselves and their situation, and how can they express themselves, how music has helped you in that regard.
Well, I've never thought of myself as I suppose I am a minority musician, but I've never thought about myself that way because I enjoy so many other privileges, and so, but I guess as a gay musician, I suppose the best advice I could give another gay artist is just to really try to be who you are. For many years as a gay person and as a gay musician, I wouldn't really talk about my sexuality when I was on stage. I wouldn't talk about my partner or anything like that. And then probably, I don't know, somewhere around 2001, 2002, maybe a little later than that, probably later, I stopped telling people I was gay. I would always say, meet you. Okay, Jory, we're now friends. And I need to tell you something, buddy. And I would sit you down and this is where I would feel my nerves, Maddie, sitting people down and saying, I just want to let you know that I am a lesbian. And I was basically giving people permission to judge me. People can judge me all they want. They don't need my permission, but I was giving them permission. And I was giving them permission to believe that there was something less about me and that there was something different or wrong with me. Because here I am now introducing the fact that I am different and I'm, I hope you still accept me. I hope you still love me. I hope you still want to be my friend. And I stopped doing that. I figure if people don't know I'm gay, they're going to find out because I'm going to say, oh, my partner, Angie, this, and when the first time I kissed so-and-so, and I'm just going to be normal. As a straight person in the world, when you say goodbye to your partner, you kiss them. As a gay person, you would walk behind the building and steal a kiss and then go. And I stopped doing that. I just started behaving as if I were a normal person because I am, I love the way I love and that's okay. And so my best advice for another musician is write songs that are true for you. Be true to who you are, as long as you're comfortable doing that. If you're not comfortable doing that, then be true to who you're comfortable sharing. You know, it's not up to me to decide that it's time for somebody else to be more truthful in their songwriting, or, you know, whatever. I wrote a song about a woman, and the she was all through the song, and I had a producer say, "Can we change that to he?" And I said, no, I can change it to you. I can make it non-gendered. And so on the CD that I did a non-gendered version of the song and a pride version of the song.
Oh,
so that, because the song was written she, her, and but you know, and it really pushed me to try and change it to you, but it really worked really well actually as you.
Do you think that's a struggle? How much do you think that is taken into consideration in songs? Do you think, okay, I don't know what I'm trying to ask here. How guarded were you before about lyrics and stuff, or have you always been free to express yourself?
I was very guarded for a long time. And now many times I'll write and they'll still be genderless, because when I was a kid, I remember listening to any radio station, and I'd always wish that I was the boy in the song that the girl was singing to, or that it was a girl singing to a girl. Like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's not like, and when there was a song that was just like, I love you, yeah, 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 then it was like, that could be to anybody. And that means I'm included in it. And so it was not, I still write a lot of genderless songs, because I could be a woman singing to a man. I could be a woman singing to a woman. I could be a woman singing to her non-binary partner. And so, but when I want to be more personal, I do say she in songs, and I didn't for a really long time. I was very purposefully saying you or us or your, like, because I didn't want to make other people uncomfortable at the sacrifice of making myself uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I am of a very strong belief that no one will ever get used to people who are different than they are unless they see it and experience people who are different than they are. So as a gay person, if I'm not who I am, then I'm hurting myself. It feels like a lie when I keep a secret. And when I'm not being who I am, I'm also doing a disservice to the people around me, because they don't get to love the Amy that really exists. They're loving this mirage, or this made up part of me. And so if I stand on a stage and I talk about my wife, it might take a person aback the first time they hear it. Oh, she's gay. Did you know she was gay? Oh my God, I didn't know she was gay. Okay, she's gay, blah, 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 blah. But she's still talented. Yeah, she's so funny. Yeah. And so now there's a gay person who entertains me, and she's talented and she's funny, but she's gay. Okay, I know a gay person. You know, so this is back 15 years ago when I started to just be who I am. And now when I say my wife, nobody even blinks, because they're used to it. And so I feel like I'm actually changing the way that people see gay and lesbian, you know, the whole LGBTQ2+, 2S+, you know, community, because it becomes normal. I remember, you know, I pay my taxes just like that guy pays his taxes. So there's nothing different about me except for the gender of my spouse. And that shouldn't matter to anybody but me. So
sure.
I don't know if I answered your question. I went on.
No, you certainly did. And you gave some wonderful insight. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just like to ask, what advice would you give to your younger self? If you were just starting out in music, or I guess to young musicians in general, just beginning.
How much of a family show is this?
You know what? It's a real show. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I would tell my 13, 14, 15-year-old self to stop giving so much of a shit what other people think. It's like, that's our biggest thing. When you see the joy in a little baby's eyes before they realize that other people are out there looking at them, it's incredible. And it gets lost because somebody's out there and they don't like me, and it breaks us to have all of these ideas that we're not good enough. And so, like, just to let go of what you think other people are thinking of you. Most of the time, people are too busy in their own brains to even have time to judge me. So the judgment always begins here, right? So I think that would be the biggest thing I would tell my younger self would be, stop caring so much what other people think and try and figure out what you think. Another thing I would do is I'd go back to my 16-year-old self and I would tell myself I wasn't fat. That would be a big thing too. Because when I was 16, somebody asked me what it felt like to be the fat kid in high school. And I didn't realize I was fat because I wasn't. I was about 175 pounds.
Wow.
You know, I was physically, I was bigger than every other girl, but I was very fit. But she told me I was fat, and I cultivated a belief that I was fat, and I created a body that matched my belief. And so I think I would do that too. I would go back and heal that wound instead of waiting 30 years.
That's great advice. Yeah, it's great advice. I'm sure that, that's going to be important for a lot of people to hear. Yeah. So thank you, Amy. We've really enjoyed having you here, and it's been wonderful talking to you.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, the time really just flew by.
Yeah.
We can find your music where?
On iTunes and all of the digital media stuff. I really appreciate anybody going to the YouTube page and subscribing and that kind of stuff. That'd be great.
And amybishopmusic.com is your website, correct?
Yeah, amybishopmusic.com is my website, and yeah, you can go there. It hasn't really been updated since COVID, so
not much. You're
going to get a lot of information, but I'm pretty active on Instagram and on Facebook. So if you want to find me, you can find me there, and of course on YouTube.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, thank you, Maddie. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's been wonderful talking to you, Amy. Thank you very much. We hope to have you back sometime.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Bye.